Hi, y'all. Welcome to the Spiritual Speakeasy, where the bar is always open and all spirits are served. Tonight, we lost April. She went down amongst those that are not feeling well, and she has been rescheduled. And she promises that she's going to do some readings for us when she comes on the podcast. So that will be super exciting. Tonight, it's Chris and me, and we are in Conway, Arkansas. Yay! Just finished the Enchanted Metaphysics and Mystic show, which was amazing and awesome and tremendous and everything. And we just thought that we would get on tonight and do some talking about things that we're seeing, some common themes, some common threads in readings, and some personal choice themes, things that are coming up and I guess just common things we're seeing with people in general, trauma and things like that. Yep. So if you want to post anything, please join in. I'm going to come on to my post here and see if I can get on my comment section and try to run a phone at the same time. If you make a post, please put your name on it because we are having troubles identifying some of the people that are posting. Hi, Greg. Thank you. That came out. I see Greg. So one of the things we did a lot of readings. I did a lot of readings this weekend. And there seems to be a very, very common thread with people not valuing themselves. And I guess I could make assumptions. Hey, Brandon. I think that things are hard for people right now, and I never get into politics, and I do get into religion, but I really don't think it's a political venue. Hi, Howard. I don't think it's a political agenda that people are just having a hard time right now with. I see people. I have to stop. I'm kind of stuttering. I really believe that it's a media agenda. And I think there's so much out there that is, you're too fat, you're too thin, your clothes aren't right, you don't look right, buy the latest trends, buy, merch. And I think there's so many things out there designed to make us feel miserable. And I think too, and I've said this all along, since COVID, there's been a different agenda, and it's been an agenda of you're not alone. You don't have to go through this alone. Hi, Carol. There's people that are out there that care about you. These people the media doesn't give a shit about anybody, and I hate to break that to people. That's not being even gentle about it. Your movie stars don't give a shit about anybody. They're paid actors. Your musicians only care about, their record labels and who shows at their concerts for $500 a ticket. And I think people have been made to feel or conditioned to feel like it's not okay to be alone and it's not okay to sit with yourself. And if you are, you're going to have a huge amount of anxiety. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah. What was the thing you were talking about? The anime theme that we manifest our own.
Yeah, we do. We manifest, and I truly believe that the Japanese culture is really strong in believing that, although they believe in jinns and they believe in that there's things that are out there that are more powerful than we are, whether good or bad, right or wrong. They don't believe in the same demon culture that we have, and a lot of the anime is portraying how they believe, and that by thought, word, and deed, what we speak, what we think, and what we do creates the monsters that are around us. And by our decisions, sometimes we create the monsters. Now, for the people who have trauma, I want to get into that, because then the first thing that somebody's going to say was, well, I was traumatized as a child. And this show's probably going to have some trigger warnings. So, if it's uncomfortable, then please back off and don't feel like you have to watch it by any means. But I think that as children, there's different levels of trauma. And I think sometimes, hi Tanya, sometimes the things that we perceive as trauma in the moment because we didn't understand them as children become bigger traumas as adults. So I think that, you may think that your parents left you and you were, Damien said, I heard trigger warnings. Good morning. Good morning. I think that you may have an episode where you thought your parents left you when you panicked, and it was a horrible fear from then on that your parents left you. And maybe your parents didn't leave you. Maybe your parents were actually in the garage stocking groceries or doing the laundry. And for that split moment, you felt like you were alone and you were scared. And that inner child builds those thoughts, and it makes it into something that's extremely menacing. Excuse me. And then your whole life, you become fearful that something's going to get you, or that you're alone, or you're by yourself and you can't make it without someone else. Those are the small things that I'm talking about that grow into big things. I think that there's bigger traumas, huge traumas, loss of parents being taken away, sexual trauma, physical trauma, emotional abuse. All of those things are greater traumas, and the ability to understand as a child is oftentimes taken away by parents and the system and the legal system, or you keep silent for fear that something's going to happen. Because oftentimes with those traumas, there's threats that are made as well, that I believe that we make them into life-altering points. Whereas if it was handled correctly and you could work through that trauma and you had the ability to talk about it and not let it build up into a huge monster. It's huge in the moment. It's traumatic in the moment. It's terrible. It should never occur. But I think the ability to speak about it and the ability to not be stifled about it and not be turned into a victim, but come out stronger, makes you see things different as an adult. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but that's my personal opinion. Damien says he died six times at a young age, traumatized because heaven didn't want me, and hell both keep sending me back. And I think the heaven and hell, I don't know how that exists in our reality, if it's a dimensional thing, an interdimensional thing. I know what I've experienced, but I also know that other people have experienced different things. So, I mean, as much as I'd love to tell you, don't take that personal, because to me, that doesn't mean that nobody wanted you. That means that you had unfinished business here on earth, and you were going to be more important to earth than you were in that dimension. Greg, does your mom getting polio when you were 2 years old? Yes, that's huge trauma. You have the disease, you have living with the disease. And people who live with chronic illnesses, even whether it's a parent or it's a sibling or it's themselves, that's a different trauma in itself, because you're never given the chance to live a quote unquote normalized life. And so being raised in a sick household is something different. Is this pre-recorded? This is not pre-recorded. This is live. You'll hear people that we are right in a hallway with the elevator. I mean, like literally, you know how they put elevators in hotel rooms and they recess them, and there's usually like an ice and snack machine. We are that ice and snack machine. We have the room that's right there.
We're in a nook.
We're in a nook. And so you're going to hear a lot of foreign people tonight. And because I think we're like probably one of the only few Americans. Do I do drugs? Depends on what you. I am getting a knee replacement. Yeah. I do believe in plant-based medicine, if that answers your question there. Well, hang on and stay with us a little more, and you might find that it's a pretty good podcast. I'm just going to say that you might be interested. So the common themes with that are that you have you have the trauma, and then people develop the ability to, or inability to, believe that they are enough. People with tattoos and colored hair usually do drugs. Okay, well, guess what? And boom. Hang on just a minute. Taking care of the baggage, taking the trash out. Maybe. Okay. So, anyway, Greg, I didn't say zero fucks yet, but it's coming. So, in a reading, the ability to say, I am enough, and to sit in your own space seems to be very difficult for most people that come to me to read. Now, I have regular clients that we've already worked through that, but to be able to sit and say, I'm here and I'm taking up space, and I'm allowed to take up space, and it's my space, and I'm happy where I am, and I'm happy with me, does not seem to be a pattern. And the need to feel loved is a big thing too. And I think, hi, Barbara, I think people who need to feel loved, I mean, that's the human hierarchy, right? That's Maslow's hierarchy of needs, self-actualization, but love is definitely, thank you, Beth. We took out the trash on that one. So with that hierarchy, you need love. All humans need love. Now, whether that's pet love, human love, they need some kind of something that gives them the need to be loved back. And I think when you've had a parent pass at a young age, or you've had divorce, or you've been in an abusive family, that lack of love is something that you don't always have. You may have somebody that says, I love you, but that nurturing kind of love is missed. And so I think especially females, I can only speak to females because that's what I am, is that I find that you tend to hook up with people who need muskrat love. If I had a playlist, but then YouTube I'd be in violation, because that would be a YouTube copyright violation. Somebody playing little music in the background. I think that women especially will try to find men that give them attention, and then also in the same time try to fix that person to make that person feel better, and try to incorporate that as love. And then, by the time a lot of them come to me, they're on their second and third and fourth and fifth marriage, and they're trying to figure it out, and they don't have the love. And they're looking for that love, and then they realize they've done it again. They've found that person that's abusive again, and they've copied their family patterns. So learning to sit with yourself and learning to love yourself before you get involved with somebody else is always extremely important. Comments?
Yep. No, I think you hit it right there. You got it.
Being the black sheep causes trauma. It sure does. And bullying, black sheep, bullying in school. I mean, mean kids, whether it's the Mean Kids Club, the Mean Girls tables, I don't know if boys are bullies like girls are. I can make a statement in general, though, the women can be like really bad, judgmental and horrid about, you can't sit at my table and be that. Oh my God, we've got to stop trying to fix people. Yeah, well, and the thing is, people are trying to fix people, and the people that are trying to do the fixing are so, and I hate the word broken, but they're so broken themselves that you can't fix anybody if you don't love yourself. You have to be willing to work on self-improvement. Barbara, your whole sentence didn't come out. I was the young one, I'm assuming. Hey, Cheryl. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. We're talking about things of reading. You said never would bring up my black sheep period again. Well, I also had my fucks limited, so it's kind of one of those things.
That's that nurturing side.
That's the nurturing side. Hi, Kayla. How are you? And being a paranormal investigator in a very religious community is a lot of trauma. Listen, being a metaphysical worker in Arkansas produces a lot of trauma. I did not know that because Missouri seems so open. And I know you all come from different areas in different states. Missouri is a pretty open town. There's a lot of colleges. It's pretty open, I would say, religious-wise. I mean, there's a good variety of religions, good variety of spirituality. Arkansas is not too labeled, but very Bible Belt community. A lot of deep practicing, choose my words carefully, Bible Belt people. And this, Conway is a beautiful city in that there's an openness. I'm not saying that there isn't religious anxiety and that there's not oppression, but there is definitely more because there's colleges all around. Little Rock's right next door. You have the ability to practice and have great metaphysical shows here. And Chelsea does an amazing job with Enchanted. And if you have not visited Arkansas and come down to one of Chelsea's Enchanted metaphysics and mystic shows, you need to, because we have everything from tattoo artists and jewelry and clothing, and it's just an array of all kinds of cool things. But back to it is Arkansas has a very closed-minded community, and when you start getting into Benton and isn't Benton? Yeah, Benton. There's a lot more closed-mindedness, and they come out and they protest, which is their right to do. I'm not stopping anybody from freedom of speech. You have to be careful what you say on podcasts sometimes. Carol, wow, doing shadow work really makes you look back. And it's so great. Yes, thank you, Carol. So not having to repeat things over and over. And that's the theme for those of you guys that just tuned in tonight is, things during readings that have come out that's a theme right now. And I think since the double moon and the eclipse and Pluto jacked some shit happened, we came out of Aries, and there's like a whole lot of stuff going on. And
I'm sure everybody can feel that as well.
Yeah, everybody feels that. And so, God, my face is really like puffy tonight. It's been a long day, guys. Sorry. I'm very tired. I think I did like 8 reads back to back with an Italian ice in between. The theme is people aren't doing shadow work. The theme is people aren't seeing themselves the way they really are, because when you don't care about yourself, you're not willing to always look at yourself. It's okay. So sometimes, in my opinion, it's easier to remain the victim, because if you don't know anything but the victim, that's an easy place to be. And we all go back to where we're comfortable. And that's why it takes the average person 7 tries to leave an abusive marriage or abusive relationships, because the known is not as scary as the unknown. So if you know you're going to get whacked or beat down or cussed out, at least know that's coming, as opposed to not knowing what the next one's going to bring. And so you see Pete and repeat with trauma, and you see a lot of that. And so people that are coming a lot of times trying to find themselves come in with that kind of trauma. So when you tell them that you're enough, and do you not see how beautiful you are as a person, their whole world comes unwrapped because they've never heard that before. Now, in my world, I can't imagine never being told you're not a good person. I was very lucky. I didn't come from that kind of an abusive home. I mean, I had to be a perfectionist a lot of the time, but I was never demeaned or told I was stupid or, anything like that. And the times, I can honestly say the times I got butt beat, I really deserved to be. I did some shit.
Had it coming.
I had it coming. There are things you don't call your parents and expect to just get a little slap on the wrist. An Irish Spring does not taste good when the whole bar is in your mouth. but that's a whole different thing. Yes. So Arkansas does have some very haunted places, but also it is very religious and close-minded. I know there's paranormal groups. We've not seen the paranormal groups come out to the Arkansas shows.
I met one today.
Every coin has a flip side, both positive and negative. The best way is infiltrate, learn, and leave your views just to be as strong as you can. Yeah, that's true though. And keep learning. And the thing is, you can find a happy medium with everything. And there's a little bit of truth to every scenario and to every situation. So realizing that the truth is someplace in between and finding that common medium. I am sweating. It's really hot.
You want me to turn the air on?
Yeah. It's like a whole thing. Hi, April. Well, we're in this little corner with this computer in trying not to show how slobbish we are in the hotel room.
I'm back.
Because there's like a lot of people downstairs chatting it up and they don't speak English and to try to find a corner that, people aren't like hovering to see what you're doing. Mothers definitely teach daughters to be victims. They think the child doesn't see. The child does see. We see. Everybody sees. Thank you, Carol. I appreciate that. So I think, one of the things that we do is we need to allow our children to have a voice, but we also need to have ears as parents and listen to what our children are telling us. If they're telling us that they don't like the yelling and screaming, if they're telling us that they're being abused, we need to quit defending the people that were with as partners. And I'm not going to say the men were with the men, the women, the sisters, the brothers, the uncles, the family members, the neighbors, the babysitters, whoever the fuck it is. We need to quit defending all of those people, and we need to start believing our children. Number one, that's a common theme. Number two, I really think that people need to take a look at themselves and realize that we all have egos, and ego's a very strong thing within us. But if we can meet our inner child as our ego, because our inner child is kind of our ego, it puffs up big. And when we're triggered or something as an adult offends us, a lot of times if you stop the person in the middle of their anger and their offense and you can say, what offended you so much? They will start going back in childhood and say, well, I didn't like what you called me. Well, why did that bother you so much? That, I'm in a position where I get paid to read people. I can say, well, that person's an asshat. No judgment there. That person's a straight out asshat.
Just got called out.
I got called out. And they can go back and say, well, I can remember my uncle when I was 4 years old telling me the same thing. So it wasn't that person on the street that called you that offended you. You're still breathing from the hurt that was caused by your uncle when you were 4 years old. So let's forgive and move on that uncle, because clearly he's renting a huge amount of space that started out this much in your head, and you've blown him into this full monster, and it's taken over your life. And so learning to let go. So yes, that's what witches and a lot of metaphysical people call shadow work, but it's not. Hi, Becky. It's not just shadow work. It's understanding that we all have different aspects to our personalities. And I'm not going to say a good side and a bad side, because what's bad is good to some people and what's good is bad to other people. I think we all have different parts to our personality. And I think, I don't even know how to say it. I think it's all situational. And I think to embrace whatever it is we do as a learning experience and not be so quick to judge and label it with a name, but to understand the experience. That was a horrifying experience. I was terrified when that hit. Why was I terrified? Because of that. Don't call it a bad. There's terrifying experiences when you're driving a car, but it taught you to put your turn signals on to shift lanes. That might have been terrifying, but if you didn't die and you didn't wreck, was it really that bad? It was a learning experience. And I think even Andrea Perron said from the Conjuring House, not the current Conjuring House things, but the one who grew up, the lady who grew up in the Conjuring house. I said, how did you possibly live in that environment with all of that? And she said, you embrace everything. You embrace the light, you embrace the dark. You have to embrace it to understand and move it on. And that's
truth there. That's truth.
To me, that is absolute truth. Do the work, cut the cords, take back your, absolutely. And the other thing I've learned, and I'm not sure that all people in my position would agree with this, but I can honestly say, being a witch and doing the witch work that I've done, if you can cut your own cords or have somebody work with you on cutting cords and forgiving and releasing and being done, karma moves in. But karma cannot move in as long as we are taking the reins. That's kind of like saying, Jesus, take the wheel and drive. But I've got a death grip on the steering wheel and I'm not paying attention to what anything says. I'm doing it my way. You can't have it both ways. You can't be in control of a situation, holding tight the reins and wanting to live in the pity pot or the agony or the trauma and expect karma to come in and take over. As soon as we release, karma then comes in and takes over. But karma waits until we've released it, because otherwise we get hit with the karma too. And trying to get people to live with themselves, that's hard. There's a lot of people that have never spent time by themselves. They don't like to spend time. It's uneasy because their trauma comes up and visits them. And then they sit in a place where they're miserable and they're hurt and they're sad and they're alone. Miss Katie says that in itself is an accomplishment just by acknowledging. Yes. And as soon as you acknowledge it, you have taken the power away from it. It's no longer the huge monster or the huge shadow standing in your corner. It's something that you just take the power out of it. It's kind of like, the metaphor, asking a demon what its name is. It takes its power away. When you can name what it is and name the trauma that's causing the fear, it no longer has control over you.
And some people don't recognize that stuff.
No, they don't. And that's why they come to readers. So as readers, we have an obligation to be honest and fair, but also tell the truth. I think there's a lot of people out there that sugarcoat and they fluff because that's what people want. I'm just not that kind of person. And I let people know very, very quickly when they sit down at my table, before money is exchanged, it is said, I am the harshest reader you're going to find in the room, and I'm going to cut straight to the bullshit. And I drop a lot of F-bombs. If that's not for you, I'm not your person. Because I don't count the fucks that I don't give. Or do you count the fucks when you don't give them? When you don't give a fuck, are you really giving a fuck when you say you don't give a fuck? I don't know how many fucks are out there to get. Because the light is dark and vice versa. Well, yeah, you can't have one without the other. Yeah. How do you know what light is? Unless you have dark. If everything's light, you can recognize a dark spot in the light. It just kind of makes you wonder. It takes both. But hit with the truth with a ton of bricks, and you pick up those bricks and you rebuild. And that's the whole thing. The Fool's card. A lot of readers say, oh, it's the fool, you've been played. The Fool's card is not that at all. It's change. What happens when you get fooled? You don't just sit in the, oh, shit, I got taken. Okay, well, let's be a victim and sit and cry because I got taken. I got to change up my game. I got to change up my poker hand. I got to change up my life. And being willing to accept change. And I think the other thing is I see a lack of faith. And without getting into religion here, I don't care whether it's God or the divine or, if your belief system is that you worship Lucifer or Satan, you have to have something to believe in. There are no atheists in foxholes. There aren't any. There aren't. So you're cussing or calling out to something in that moment. And that's what you have to reach for in your times, and you have to have something, a belief system to turn things over to. And I equate a lot of times, like if you're going on a trip and you're taking a bunch of trunks with you, and money's not an object, so you can't say that, well, I can't afford this. So it's all being paid for. Everything's being paid for. Don't ask how. We're just saying it's being paid for. And you go on this trip abroad and you have 3 trunks of items that you're bringing with you. Because let's say you're going to stay for like 3 years. Let's just stay with the number 3. And you're on 3rd floor, because that makes sense, right? And the bellhop guy, I don't know what they call him anymore, hotel service worker, comes up to you and says, I don't know what they're called, but he comes up and he says, I'm going to take these trunks out of the car. Did you want to carry them up the 6 flights of stairs to get to the 3rd floor? Most people are going to say, because remember I said money's no issue. That's the qualifier. Most people are going to say, fuck no, take them, right? Because money's not an issue. The tip comes with it, right? You're going to say, take those trunks. And nowhere is any one of us, although I had a lady today, bless her heart, she did say she would stop and she would carry her own trunks and carry everybody else's as well. That's an issue. I have to point this out. In her defense, she was also a massage therapist and a nurse. So there you go. I mean, this is what we're trained to do, right? Is to help other people. Most people would say no. When you hit the 3rd level of stairs, and remember it's 3 floors, 6 flights, because you got your little platforms and you got to turn. Most people aren't going to run up by the 2nd platform or 3rd platform and they're going to say, oh, I'm really sorry, but I feel the need to carry that 2nd trunk up 3 more flights of stairs. That's the baggage you're carrying from things people have done to you. They're packed in those trunks. And so to me, if you can take those trunks and you can figure out this trunk has, Uncle Bob's shit because, I was molested, or he beat me, or he left me and he was a drunk, or whatever the scenario is. If you can take that trunk and you can send that in your mind, COD, back to Uncle Bob, somebody's going to ask, what's COD? That's like signed on delivery. And you sign and you pay. You pay it. They pay when they receive it. Okay. Young people don't know what COD is. I also ran into that today. What's that? Claude? No. So you take it and you send it back to them mentally, like all those horrible things. That was not me. You didn't cause that. You didn't cause the abuse. Nobody deserves to be abused. Nobody deserves to be beaten. Nobody deserves to be raped or assaulted. You didn't deserve that. You didn't ask for that. That was done to you unfairly. So you take those feelings and you put them in an envelope mentally, or you put them in a box mentally, and you COD them back to the person who did them. You release with love. Forgiveness is not about the other person. It's never about the other person. It's about you getting rid of the feelings and not carrying that trauma anymore. So one of the most selfish things you can do is forgive. Now, I'm not going to get into the biblical why Jesus forgave. I'm not Jesus. I forgive for different reasons. Miss Katie will give me a Bible verse and put me on the right path later, because I love Miss Katie. But right now, I'm saying to get over your trauma, forgive them for your sake. Move it on. Get rid of it. Let karma come in. You're going to take 150 pounds off your body. You're going to take the trauma off your organs, because all trauma is stored in different areas. And when that's stored in different areas, then you have gut issues, and you have liver issues and spleen issues and breathing issues and heart issues. And then you have to hire somebody again like me, who's a Reiki master, to come in and clean all of that out. And if you don't manage it, then I have to keep cleaning you out. And so, which is fine with me, I will keep doing that, but I would much rather you clean yourself so that you learn to take care of yourself. How did I blow your mind, Miss Katie? COD, Call of Duty. Oh, I didn't think of that.
Well,
Yeah.
it works.
Well, I mean, in Call of Duty, yeah, just
works.
shoot them up, shoot them up. Stomach ulcers are no fun. No, they are not. They are not. And anger and anxiety and not being enough is stored in your liver and your spleen. And people who have repressed rage and need to be able to verbalize things, it's stored in your solar plexus in your heart. And then, when you go to say something and you're coughing and you're choking, that's your inability to speak. Your throat chakra is now blocked because of the trauma. So you get into all of those different aspects, and we see it all at shows. Those are the people that come up, and they come to shows. That thank God that there's shows, because that's how they find help. A lot of times they come in, they buy tickets to find that person that they can relate to, and we become the counselor, the metaphysic person, the person that helps them on that journey. And the next question is asked is, do you do this for free? And I do. There are people, I don't refuse people who can't pay. I would never refuse somebody who can't pay. We do all of our housework for people. Yes. Aside from real estate people and business people that hire us out to clean houses. If somebody has a trauma in their house, or they've had something occur, they need their house blessed, all of that is free. That's free. And all contingent upon how I'm feeling at the time. Because I have respiratory issues and have knee issues, and if I can't do the stairs and I can't do that, then we have to schedule based upon my schedule. 7-week chakra course, and it really helps. Chakras are amazing. People don't realize that, and it's kind of interesting because there's a Christian community out there, and I'm not calling it out by church name. It's not like Baptist or Jewish or anything like that. There's a thought within the Christian community that the yoga is bad and Kundalini is the work of the devil. And I see that so often, and now it's on TV, and they're actually saying that on a series. So let me set that straight. First of all, yeah, you're gonna ding, y'all. What's that mean? Ding ding, huzzah! No, sorry, my bad. We had Renaissance people at the fair, and they kept ringing bells and yelling huzzah, huzzah. I lost my train of thought. Kundalini and yoga. So what's on TV is a lot of these. Oh, your chakra bells. Yes, yes, chakra bells. Okay, and singing bells, singing bowls. Mm-hmm. Yoga itself is not bad. Yoga is not the work of the devil. Yoga has nothing to do with any deity. You can practice any religion you want and do yoga. Yoga is simply realizing that the divine in me recognizes the divine in you. And if you're biblical based, you should understand that if you believe in God, God created us in his own image. And those of you that read the Bible and believe in that you can't argue with that. So if God made us and he's in us, then we are part God ourselves. We have a God gene. We have the God inside. So we should behave like that. And that doesn't mean running around judging people. It should mean we treat our bodies better and take better care of ourselves. Yoga's gotten bad names because of a couple things. First of all, anytime anyone, male or female, gets in a position of power, and they're so empowered by so many people, and we're not talking 20 people, we're talking thousands and millions of people. Power is a rough thing to deal with, and ego has to be checked. And a lot of these people had power issues to begin with. They become cult leaders. And not, all joking aside, because, I joke with my friends at Get Haunted, because Rob's a cult leader with Kool-Aid. He gives packages of Kool-Aid with his hoodies, which I love. I think that's really cool. I got a great package of Kool-Aid. We're not talking that kind of cult leader. They use their power and they use sex as a form of control and brainwash. So yoga got a bad name because most of the gurus, and understand that yoga was started in another country. So this is not the United States regulations. And yes, it goes on in the United States as well. There's sex trafficking all over right now. But people in important positions of power oftentimes make bad decisions and do bad things with their choice of power. That doesn't mean yoga itself is bad. The other thing is yoga was sexualized when it came out. There was a lot of movie stars that did it. A lot of movie stars made it very, very big. And of course, the movie stars that made it big had great bodies, so they wore skimpy things, they wore tight leotards. So you've got these flashy women and men in body skin tight suits doing positions on camera that the church said were sexual positions. Was that their motive? I don't know. I'm not them. But yoga in itself is a very good example of breathing through trauma in your life. You put yourself in an awkward, it's like playing Twister. You put yourself in an awkward position and you have to hold it while somebody says breathe, and it teaches you to breathe in an uncomfortable situation in life. It teaches you that you're going to make it through that situation and come out alive and be a better person for it. So yoga in itself is not bad. It's very healthy. It's very good if done properly. And you recognize that everybody does the way they choose to do it, and they can choose not to do it in a class as well. Kundalini is very root chakra based, and your root is your base chakra. It's also associated with your sex organs, your sex drive, and things like that. So you say root chakra and moving at the hips and undulating like a snake, and you get into all these things. And so then the religious movements have come in and said that it's a very bad thing. It has nothing to do with that. It can be used with that. But a lot of trauma is, thank you, Greg, a lot of trauma, especially sexual trauma, of course, is going to be stored in your root chakra. So what do you do when you're traumatized? You lock up, you tighten up, you can't move, you can't form relationships, you can't be yourself, you live in fear. And so that is something that by movement and by dance, and I'm not talking about anything that's horrific or stripper dancing or anything that you go where your mind goes that's bad, just moving and unlocking your hips and unlocking your back. And we're also a sedentary society. So we sit in a chair all day. And when you sit in a chair all day, what locks? Your back and your hips. So we need to move. That also opens that up. When that breath that breathed life in you hits those spiritual and physical areas, yes, exactly. We have to get air. Air is conducive to life. We have to get airflow. We have to get blood flow to places that are locked up. Tai Chi is slow. Yes. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, you have a lot of injuries during yoga too. I mean, it's not like people think yoga is like really easy. No, it's not. It's horrid. Some of those positions are really, really bad.
You got a bad knee. Yeah.
Especially when you got a bad knee. So, chair yoga is really good. And you can do everything that you do, Tai Chi, even Tai Chi movements can be done in a chair for people who can't do that. Hello, paranormal people. Hi, Anthony. So trauma, it comes back to what we were talking about with the readings, getting people moving, getting people to self-care. We've talked about on a lot of the paranormal shows. Oh, I can't even do Pilates. That's not even funny. I can't do crunches. I can't do shit sit-ups at all. Jesus. Yeah, push-ups are terrible. I don't like exercise. I don't. You push cards and lift boxes and move stuff around. But taking care of ourselves and for the paranormal people, it's the same as cleansing. I mean, you go into someplace bad, someplace crazy, someplace where the energy's off the chain, and you want to make sure that you don't take that home with you. Well, what is that energy in a paranormal house or a paranormal place? Guess what? It's trauma. It's some kind of traumatic energy of something that has stayed behind or is haunting the place. So we have to be careful with our own trauma to clean up our own trauma so that it doesn't stay and manifest. What were you going to say?
Or attach.
Or attach. Hi, April. It's because trauma has to go someplace. Trauma has to go someplace. It energy is never gained or lost, right? It just converts to different forms. So I don't know where I was going with so there. I think also when we look at trauma, when we heal the trauma and we send back those crates COD, we heal 7 generations back and 7 generations forward. And when you do the math on that, that's 14 generations. That's huge. That's huge. 14 generations, 7 each direction. So ancestral curses, ancestral trauma, relative trauma, family trauma, that's all ancestral trauma, and generational. It's all the same. So when you're looking at that 7 generations back and then 7 generations forward means that the youth going in and the family members coming out of that are going to be helped in that way. That's crazy. That's beautiful. Anthony says, yes, and after years of investigating, we end up with PT. Yes, you do end up with PTSD.
Oh boy.
And then look at the trauma cases.
Yeah. Well, and we were when we were in Pennsylvania. Ryan Buell.
Yeah, Ryan does that. Ryan is now finishing up his counseling.
He helps
master's or PhD. I can't remember. And he's working with paranormal, like attachment, trauma, and addictions, which, I mean, I thoroughly applaud that, because where do we go? I mean, where do most people go? To some kind of substance, because sometimes that's like, you don't know how to clean, you don't know how to cope, and then you've got something chattering in your head, the attachment that's saying, do this, do that, do this, do that.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's what that's all about. And yeah, Ryan Buell. Greg, Ryan. Have you met Ryan? He's at a lot of the things. He was on, oh shoot, I'm so bad with shows.
It was Paranormal State.
I think it was Paranormal State. I'm so bad with the TV shows. But he did a lot of investigations on TV, and he got caught up in the drug world. And I'm not, this is not rumor. He talks about this at conventions and speaks about how he had to do a lot of work to get himself clean and see what what had traumatized him, and there was a lot into it. And working with Paranormal State. Thank you, Carol. That's what I thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
And he's doing great things now, because he realized that, whether the paranormal attachments start out the addictions, they certainly will help feed him. I mean,
And there was not a lot of people that had experience with that. There's not
nobody
a lot of people
out
that
there
can help you.
Nobody out there that looks at that. I've been in mental health for 4, 8, 15, maybe 20 years. And, we medicate down for shit like that. You see things, you hear voices, it's 10 and 2, 10 of Thorazine and 2 of Ativan. So we're real quick to medicate and do things like that, rather than sitting with a person and going, so how long have you had this experience? And did you ghost hunt? Did you open doors? And no, I'm not going to pull did you use a Ouija boards and play with tarot? To me, if you walk in a building and you say, hi, who's here that wants to talk to us? You just open the gateway. It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you try to communicate with spirits, you open a gateway. It's all a gateway. You're inviting something in when you say, hey, my name is so-and-so. Is there anybody here that wants to talk? Or come share your story with us. That's an invitation. So it doesn't, to me, I don't differentiate between what's good and bad. It's not up to me to judge good and bad. A pendulum is no different than a tarot card, is no different than a bone set, is no different than a SB7. That's my opinion.
Yeah. They're all tools.
They're all tools, and different people use them different ways. Yeah, Damien has them tattooed. Now, what I want to know is if you're running 2 Ouija boards, where's the planchette? Somebody had to ask. It is intent, isn't it? I think it is intent, but I think spirits are opportunists as well. Yeah, come on in. The water's fine. Yeah, intentions do help, though. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. And if you have faith in your spirit pool and you go in knowing that your spirits have your back, that's a whole different thing. Like, you have to know yourself. At least with what I do, I have to know myself. And even then, you get caught up. I get caught up. And that's why, on the paranormal discussions, sorry, my hair was itching my ear. It still itches. Hang on. I can't do 2 things at once. I'm tired. That's why I have somebody who tells me, you need to get yourself in check. That's why we have partners. Damien, I'm calling you out. Iran, it's your intent when asking spirits to communicate. You meant, yeah. When you ask them to communicate, intent, and then you state your intention too. I'm asking Archangel Michael or whoever your protector, Isis or Thor, or whoever your protector spirit and guide is. I'm asking them to hold space for me now. And I make sure in my mind, I call in a sacred space, whatever I do. So I'm in a sacred space. I call in my people, and my people watch over me. Look what they did to people. Oh yeah, look what. Sorry. So I need glasses that are like in between readers and normal because I can see distances and I can read, but my glasses are for reading and computers are just really fucked up. I don't know. Sorry.
You just gave a fuck.
I gave a fuck right there. Look what they did to people in the past. They thought they were crazy and locked them up with massive. Yeah, that's what I was saying. And we did some horrible things. We restrained people and hell, they lobotomized people and they did electric shock to people, and still working through the trauma of that kind of stuff because I did mental health in the 80s and we did shock. We did ECT in the patient's rooms and we did a lot of drug therapy that left people sedated and there's a lot of amends that need to be made and a lot of energy that I need to shift still because of that. Well, Damien, if you were in Missouri, we would join you right off the bat. I would love to see how you work your Ouija boards with your arms. How does Chris relate to what I'm saying? How do you relate to what I'm saying? The different things. How do you feel about? You're being quiet, in other words.
Well,
I'm not stifling. He has a voice.
Yeah. Well, everything that we have talked about, we talk to ourselves, amongst ourselves about, and how we can better the situation, make it better for somebody else, make it better for us. It's all, everything that we're talking about right here, right now, this is everything that we talk about amongst ourselves.
Yeah. And people don't get that about us. There's people out there that try to pit us against each other and say all kinds of shit. And we're a team. Like, we have discussions. And Damien says Chris is definitely an anchor man, strong energy. Yeah, he's my rock. And when he tells me to do something, like if he says you need to go clean yourself, I will go clean myself. It may take me a minute to go clean myself, but I will go clean myself because and
somebody, you can see a difference in the personality, their appearance, or what they're doing, or how they're behaving is just not themselves. That's when you got to step in. And
it's little things, like it could be, like I don't work, so it could be you're in the same t-shirt and underwear for this is going on the 3rd day. Do you think maybe you need to go get cleaned up? Like, what's going on with you? What have you been doing? What have you gotten into? What's your thought process right now? Where are you mentally? Because, when you're home during the daytime, you lose time and space. When you do spirit work on the side, you lose even more time and space. And you don't always realize there's a change in behaviors or a change in thought process until somebody points it out to you. So imagine being, and this is what I would consider a normal relationship. This is not a relationship where, there's cops being called all the time and you have truant kids and somebody's beating somebody up and somebody's on drugs all the time or using alcohol and the trauma drama is going on all the time. So imagine being in that environment and amping it up with the attachments and everything else, and nobody has the ability to know that somebody's off or somebody needs help or that even somebody's suicidal. And I recognize that within a lot of people who come talk to me as well, is some of these people are on the edge and some of these people have attempted to end their lives because life is so bad in that moment for them. And they don't have anybody that can say, what the fuck, man, let's get you some help or I'm here with you. Because they don't even recognize that something's going on. And that's why we all have to have each other. Yeah, reviewing yourself and checking. And growing up, we couldn't tell anyone the things we could see. So people have it easy now. Yeah, dude, I'm 62. There was nobody. I got in trouble. I got in trouble in grade school. For the time we were supposed to have quiet time, when they turned the lights off and you were supposed to put your head down on the desk. And I did a seance with my desk partner and I got in trouble and my mom got called and it was it was a whole thing. And how do you tell your mom? Well, I'm just talking to dead people. And the table moved and nobody believed me. And it was the whole thing. Now, luckily, nobody sent me to a mental institution. And but I mean, people end up, and I know people who have been in and out of institutions because they saw things and talked to things, and they are not schizophrenic. They're gifted, but they were never taught that was a gift or taught how to use that gift. People felt threatened. And then there's the people that I know that because of religion that were sent to institutions because of that, because you must be possessed if you're doing these things and you can see these things and we need to beat Christ into you. And that's never the way. I'm just going to say that out loud. That's never the way. That doesn't work that way. What you said is confirmation for me, Greg's agreeing. 8 hours Estes felt like 5 hours, but after 4 hours, it's wild. I limit my sessions to 15 minutes. I can't do more than I can't. I won't.
That's a long time.
I won't, because you lose yourself. So for the people that the people that are not paranormal, because I've got a couple nurses on here and people who are not paranormal people, Estes method is a method where you go into isolation. So you go into a place and you hunker down on the floor in a chair someplace, and you can use a blindfold or you can use red goggles that have red flashing lights, or if you can't use flashing lights, just a red solid light. And then you put audio blocking headphones on. So it's noise canceling headphones. And you can pipe the SB7 or your word generator into your headphones, or you can do white noise in your headphones, which is like your static noise, and run the SB7 for everybody else to hear. Oftentimes we have, hi Linda, oftentimes we have a SB7 or a necromancer or whatever necrophonic, whatever anybody's using. And I'll be plugged into a different word app. So nobody can hear my word app. It's coming into my headset. And then you sit there and you pretty much channel. You're speaking what's being told to you. And in my case, I can actually hear, things will talk. I get words. My spirits filter things, so I can tell the difference between my thoughts in my head and my words. If that makes sense to the people doing paranormal, I'm sure it does to the people who don't do paranormal. So if a little kid says hi, that's not the voice in my head saying hi. That's a little kid that just said hi, because I hear it in the form of a little kid. So then when I'm saying the things out loud to the people that are videoing and listening, there's somebody in another room, and you can't hear them anyway because you have noise canceling headphones. They're asking questions. And so the hope is that you catch it on tape where the person is asking questions, and the person who's in isolation answers those questions without knowing what's being asked. And there's a connection there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like having a block in between two people there, and what she is hearing in the headphones is the white noise and what is coming through the device, and you don't hear any of the questioning that's going on out there.
No. And Linda, that's not me that did the 8 hours. That would be Damien. Damien Smith is his name. He's on the channel. He's on the channel right now watching. He knows I'm going to give him shit. He just got up. He lives in another country. They do things different in other countries. I don't know. He's a
long time.
He's an amped up paranormal person.
Yeah.
He does a lot of energy drinks too, and he's not supposed to be doing this. We talked about that. You record a mix of about 100 questions to act as a second person. Ooh. Now I like that. That's kind of neat. Yeah, so you can try to get information. I really like that. Our screen is not freezing up here. So I don't know.
Internet here.
It could be the internet here, though. We're in a hotel and we're on open Wi-Fi. Let's just announce that to the public right there. Because my password thingy didn't work, and that's just how it is. You don't sleep at 44? Man, I was sleepy at 44. Jeez. Sleepy. So does anybody have any questions about it? This is kind of a random thing. And again, for people who tuned in late, we're really sorry that we missed April. She just felt like shit, and she felt bad that she missed it too. And when she is rescheduling, we're going to, she's going to be doing some readings for people as well. So you'll want to get on and see April. She's got a cool show planned. She just felt really, really bad. Really click doing Estes, having a good, yeah, we've run, with teams, we've run double Estes in different buildings and still had the same connection and the same things being said, cleared down to numbers of spirits, and happy late birthday. 62 is no different than 44. Your knees just feel worse. So yeah, it clicks, and you either got it or you don't get it. Sometimes there's nothing. I'm going to be honest. It's not like the TV shows where everything's a hit and there's something there all the time. There isn't. Sometimes there's nothing. Sometimes you connect, and I've done Estes where I'm like, it's dead. I'm not getting anything. And I'll unplug and I'm like, okay, I'm done. And then I look down at the word generator that's going off so other people can hear it. And it's been tripping the whole time. There's like a whole conversation, and I feel kind of left out. It's kind of like, well, you didn't want to talk to me. Well, shit. Okay. That's too bad. And that's okay too. Whatever, and going in with different ideas and not trying to replicate every single time, just going in and talking to people. But that wasn't really what today's podcast was about. I was trying to tie in the paranormal people to the other people, but really, the trauma, heal your trauma, work through it. Excuse me. Talk to people about your trauma, be open, because when you talk about things, they're not as scary. That's a headboard. Nancy, yes, that's a headboard. That is a wall. We're in a hotel room in Conway, Arkansas. This is not our bedroom. First of all, our bedroom is not this clean, and my side is not this clean. And we have pets, and I would not have a white bedspread ever. Ever. I have 2 dirty ass dogs and 2 cats. It would not be white for very long. This is like Motel 6, leave the light on, or whatever that is. Comfort Inn and Suites. Shout out to them. We're tired. Sorry. It's been a really long day. But take care of yourself and work through your trauma. And you broke 3 shrinks in 2 weeks. I mean, they serve a purpose, right? I'm not gonna lie. Get help, mental health, help, talk to somebody, help yourself, talk to your partner. If you're with somebody who's abusive, do not let it fool you. Do not let them get into your psyche. There is always a way out. There is always a way out. Suicide is not the way out. It is not the way out. It is not the way out. If you need to call somebody, text somebody, there's always somebody that's going to be there to help you. And you can always get out. And faith that the money's going to be there and that everything's going to be there, it has a way of taking care of itself. When you do the right thing, doors open up for you. You would have decorated in late motel motif. So it's a 5.5 hour drive from our house, and there was no way while Chris was driving that I could have tried to run a podcast with in and out mountains in Arkansas and trying to come through and hold service. So we just stayed here, and then April got sick and canceled, and we're like, we're just going to do this. We're not going to run a rerun. We're just gonna talk to people and all that stuff. Tanya, good night. Tanya was at the show too. She's exhausted. After 24 years, she got a divorce and spent 2 years getting her last name back. Well, 24 years. Okay, so you have me beat. Mine was 20. Never give up. That's right. Guys, thank you so much. Next week, we have Eric Connor on our show. We've got some really cool stuff that's going to be happening on that show. And I hope y'all join me. And I thank my husband, who makes me put my crazy on the shelf.
Try to.
And we thank you guys so much for being with us tonight. Lots of love to y'all. Take care of yourselves. Stay safe out there.
Thanks for checking in.
Thanks for checking in. Go to bed, have a cup of tea, do whatever you need to do, but self-care, and we love you, and we'll see you next week. Good night, guys.